Hello, dear viewers, I'm Atreyu, and I have the weight of an entire life I don't remember on my shoulders. In other words, I've been rebooted. Reboot's a continuity reset that allows writers or artists to envision a series under a new lens with the intention of reviving interest and bringing in a new audience, more often than not being met with, oh god no. Some people scoff at the idea of reboots or believe that some series should just stick to the basics of a revival instead of trying something new, but I don't think that's a fair assessment to make. More often than not, it's some culmination of new thing bad, old thing good, but there are times where criticism is absolutely warranted, and it lies in the one thing affecting almost every reboot nowadays. Okay, well, you've been the way you are for 9 videos now, so let's just say hypothetically you turn into a Roblox avatar for the rest of the videos following. First, let's go over what I'll be qualifying for this video so I don't get people asking me, oh, where's this series? I won't be including things like revivals or rebrands. It has to be something that attempts to have a new take on a series while also being different art style wise. Trust me, if I could get into the degradation of art for a lot of things I was into when I was younger, we would be here all day. Now, don't get me wrong, there are absolutely some amazing reboots with great art styles that even surpass their original incarnations in some ways. It's just a problem with cheaping out on a lot of things and a weird obsession to course correct in the worst way possible. And before we continue, I should also clarify that for the sake of the video's title, I won't be going into detail about these shows' plots or anything relating to them story-wise. We are here to focus purely on art style and how it translates in comparison to its original. If you want to complain about these for other reasons I don't list, then go right ahead, I don't care. So with all that out of the way, let's go past sense and get into some bad reboot art styles. Reboot was one of the first CGI animated shows to air on TV, premiering in 1994 until 2001. It was influential for the time with an investing story that connected together into one bigger narrative and pioneering the way for other CGI shows in the future. The show went on for 4 seasons and was originally planned to end with 3 films broken up into 12 different episodes. However, due to a change in the budget, this plan was altered and turned into 2 films instead. Not wanting to sacrifice the original story, the 8th episode was instead altered to end on a cliffhanger, and since then the show has never seen a proper ending due to the creator hoping for the chance to resolve it one day. I can't imagine how that feels for some people. Alright people, picture this. It's been 17 years since the end of Reboot, and it's kind of fallen off relevancy from the general public, so you want to revitalize interest in the property. You know, there's nothing wrong with that, except here's the catch. Your Netflix. Reboot The Guardian Code was released in 2017 and is a live-action CGI animation hybrid because that's what everybody wanted, I'm sure. I'll just get this off my chest right off the bat, but I've never been a fan of turning anything animated into live action. More often than not, all the charm is sucked out from the original and I do not find it enjoyable. The Disney remakes are lucky they're classified as that, or I would have been tearing into them right now, especially you! Thankfully, the show counts as a reboot technically, even if they wanted to pass as a pseudo-sequel, so I can complain about it. Why would you make a show that's entire point is that it exists within a computer part live action? It just spits in the face of the stylization of the original in so many ways, and it doesn't help that the show itself is way less creative visually compared to the show from literally 2 decades ago. Also, it doesn't help that the animation somehow looks like that one Cartoon Network show from 2011, you know, 6 years ago at this point. This show wanted to be level up so bad, it's actually crazy. I genuinely don't get what was the thought process behind the direction of this series because it clearly didn't work judging by how it was canned, and then I realized I'm talking about a live action series in a video that's supposed to be about animated reboots. Aw, man. Next up is the Magic School Bus Rides Again, the first of the oh god no character redesigns. The Magic School Bus's cast design weren't the most peak amazing designs in the world. Okay, well minus Miss Frizzle, she's goated. John Frizzle over here don't got nothing on my multi-outfit queen. But when you compare the designs of most of the characters in the original to this show, they just seem to lose a whole lot of character, you know? Doesn't help that they also chose to swap around a lot of the color palettes for the worst. Like damn, they really couldn't resist the red Hispanic jacket design, huh? The point is, everybody looks so unbelievably chopped and like they're coming straight from a Go anime video, and the animation changing to Flash doesn't exactly help either. Comparing the intro sequences is like light and day because one of these flows together seamlessly with its animations while the other genuinely looks like clips from other episodes spliced together. I think the biggest indicator of the downgrading quality is how they couldn't even be bothered to animate all the kids running into the bus at the end. Adding more vocals doesn't make the sequence any better show. That's like if I took Randy over here and threw him across the room, but instead of saying sorry, I said like, sorry. I talk about this series more, but then I learned this was technically a revival and not actually a reboot since it continues the main continuity. God damn it. Alright, that's enough of talking about stuff that's all inclusive. Now, it's girl property time. Men beware. You're in for a scare. I'm gonna kill myself. We'll start off with Monster High G3 since it's the most low-hanging fruit and like, okay, do you see what's behind me in every video I've ever made? Like I said before, I don't care about criticisms when it comes to the plot or character changes, but even then, I don't think I'd listen when most of them are from G1 fans whose criticism boils down to, oh my god, you guys, Monster High, famous unrepresentative franchise, is going woke with all this forced representation. Like, I can't believe this. I thought the slogan was be unique, but not too unique, you liberal freak. What is going on with all this forced diversity? I know the whole point of this video is to go over how reboots can essentially remove all the style from properties, but G3's problem with its art style isn't even limited to the fact it's lost its uniqueness compared to G1. You see, the real problem with this generation is that it's gone through 6 separate styles and not a single one is appealing. Every single one is uncanny and unappealing in its own ways, which is actually crazy when you compare it to G1's consistent stylization. The worst art style for G3 in my opinion is the Nyx show, because I get they're trying to go for a whole big leg style, but that translates to 2D way better than 3D unless you know what you're doing, which they clearly didn't. Say what you want, but Monster High is a fashion doll brand first and foremost, so when it comes to a show like this where advertising the main cast looks is important, they really fail to make them look appealing. I assume this is due to being on a limited budget when it comes to the models, because the show's attempt at adapting outfits like the Monster Fest line is the biggest example of a criminal downgrade. One of these girls is out serving the other, and it's not the one on the right. This problem isn't limited to just the show, however, because G3 has animated music videos which contain completely different 3D models that are inspired by the dolls. Do you see what I mean when I say this generation doesn't have a consistent art style? It doesn't help that the models can be like really ugly sometimes. Okay, a lot of the time. They just have these really off-putting baby faces and don't do the doll screenings justice unlike G1's 3D models. Also, I probably shouldn't be focusing on this, but wow, some of these songs are ass. I know you smell that bacon too. I'm actually scared. I feel like they're gonna start beating me up. Why is the camera angled like this? Personally, I was never part of the hate train that G3 had when it first leaked, since I liked the doll designs and a lot of it was bad faith criticism, but it really makes you wonder, has there ever been a reboot that's gotten so much backlash that it made a change actually happen? Well, look no further than Strawberry Shortcake 2017 over here. Strawberry Shortcake isn't a stranger to getting reboots. There's been like 6 of them over the course of the franchise's existence, and while there has been criticism for each iteration, primarily in the ways the character design kind of like degraded, none of them had it as bad as the announcement of the 2017 reboot. The first glimpse we got of the reboot was a render in an animation snippet that was posted to the DHX channel on YouTube, and all hell broke loose afterwards. The designs were getting slammed left, right, front, and center. The animation style was also getting called generic, and overall it generated a lot of negative attention, to the point the teaser and all subsequent promotional material for the reboot was completely wiped from existence. Yeah. This thing got bullied so bad it became lost media for a short time. I can understand why this got canned ultimately, because say what you want about the other generations, but they were all stylistic in their own ways without need to sacrifice decent character design. But then you look at these designs next to the others in the reboot and it's like, yeah, okay, that's nice. Like, look, G3 Monster High, even they were able to do the big legs thing better. Nowadays, almost all the promotional material has been found, but there's still a huge chunk of missing behind the scenes content, considering we have no knowledge of what the premise of this series was going to be like, aside from the fact Strawberry had like powers or something. Honestly, it's kind of embarrassing how badly they wanted to be trolls looking back in hindsight. However, I did say earlier that the backlash led to change, and change it did. In 2021, a new reboot was announced that was 2D animated and was essentially a complete redraft of the one from 2017. While the designs have basically the same problems I mentioned earlier about being generic and very much sanitized, it didn't generate as much backlash as the 2017 reboot, so I think they were willing to count this as a win, even though the show was basically like the reanimated corpse of the 2017 reboot. Honestly, I saved the worst entry for last because say what you want about the rest of the things on this list, but at the very least they were made with some amount in heart and fully by people, which we can't say for this current one, Let's talk about Winx 2025. It's no surprise if you've been in the loop for this reboot recently, but it's been known that the character designs have been made with generative AI. There is so much evidence of this, from the transformation outfits' strange designs to the weird uncanny chat GPT-ass marketing, and the fact the company behind the series is actively taking job offers for people who know how to use AI. It's also so apparent in the trailers because of how Bloom's brother is straight up a completely different art style to anybody in this show. Even if you compare him to the men in the show, they look nothing alike. Like, who are you? Even if you put aside the whole AI thing, you still got other problems like the Disneyfication of the art style, even though Winx has had 3D animation in the past that's capable of replicating the 2D style. The weird babyfication of Muse's Asian features, especially compared to her concept art. The lackluster transformation sequences that are neither cohesive or let you see the outfits form properly. And the stiff ass animation, like, look at this! There's already enough videos going into the problems of this reboot, so I'll link some below in case you do want to find out more. Honestly, this reboot is probably the best example of how terrible our current landscape is when it comes to AI. Do we really need to hire designers who can actually make cunty outfits? No, guys, let's throw them to generative AI. Or where the hell the website's called. I don't f***ing use it. If this is the quality we're gonna be getting from now on from certain companies who just want to pump out a reboot for the sake of money, then it's very worrying about what comes after this. Well, that's the end of this video. I run out of things to talk about. If you made it to the end, then thank you, and I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a good day above all else. With